I'll have to remember how to do an audio podcast again. I can't use my hands.
No,
like,
you can't.
That mic thing, you just talk into it, man. It's super easy.
I'll keep that in mind.
Like, don't eat it.
Yeah, see, it's easier for you to eat it because you can just stick it in there. You got a good angle thing to move with. Here, like, I can't eat this.
Wait, Mitch, just everything you just said right now. Did you just hear everything you just said? It was vague enough.
That is what she said.
Thank you, Vin. That's what I was waiting for.
I was waiting for you to do it.
Sorry.
What's up, guys, and welcome to episode 3 of our Coffee and Beer Fueled General Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Vin Hill, and joining me, as always, is my co-host from the opposite time zone, Mr. Evan Piotrowski.
Hello.
But also joining us, we have two special guests from the rival podcast?
I call him a spiritual successor.
Spiritual successor. You could say a B-tier podcast following behind us. I'm joking.
Oh, wow.
The
B-tier... Sorry.
B-tier. No, they're not that bad. I'm only kidding. I'm just giving them a hard time. But also joining us is two guys from the Beerumverate podcast, who we're going by Berkough and Mitch. Berkough, how's it going, man?
Not too bad. What's going on? It's been a while, man.
Yeah, man. It's been a very long time. But we had you on the old podcast, Podcast Reload, a few times. So it's wonderful to have you back, sir.
Thank you.
And also joining us, of course, is Mitch, who's also got a YouTube channel, I believe. Mitch, how's it going?
Good. It's good. Actually, it's kind of hilarious. I was on the podcast Reload with Evan and Berkough on one episode. Unfortunately, not you, Evan.
Okay.
I mean,
it's
not
all right.
you.
We're basically the same person. Let's be honest.
That's right. That was a thing. No, it all comes full circle.
Yeah, and I mean... Yeah, the weird thing is, like, we've never actually had 4 people on the podcast before, so this is going to be a new experiment, I guess. So we'll try and keep it nice and tight, but we'll see how much we fail at that because us and Timon don't have a really good history as it goes, so it's all good. But yeah, we should talk about what we're going to be diving into. It's July 2019. Of course it is. It's July 14th, 2019, and today we're going to be talking about bad games that we love. But first, we're going to be talking about what we've been playing. But because we have two guests on, we're going to go with them first. So, Berkough, what have you been playing, man?
All right, well, I'll try to keep this short.
That's what she said. I'm joking.
Just keeping it with the...
Sorry, I have to get it in there. Come on.
All right, so, I don't know how I found this online yesterday, but apparently EVE Online works with Steam on Linux now because Steam has integrated a wrapper to play Windows games on Linux.
Okay.
I have always been curious about EVE Online, but never really dove into it. And I was like, well, I'll check this out. So yesterday I loaded it up and I was like, that was kind of interesting. And then I looked at the time and I was like, holy shit, I just put 6.5 hours into this game.
Jesus.
Yeah,
it's a huge time sink and that's what I've been playing. And
when is the last time that you've played a game and realized, like, out of nowhere, like, wow, 5 hours have passed and I haven't even felt it? Like, it's been a while.
That's a good question. I don't know when the last time.
It's gonna be like World of Warcraft or something, right? Because
I never got into WoW because that was like crack. I was afraid. I was afraid to get addicted.
Just wake up in the alley. Wow, 6 hours have passed. What the fuck happened?
Basically, yeah.
What? So 6.5 hours passed by rather quickly, so I'm guessing that means that you're having a good time.
Yeah. What do you actually do in EVE? Like, because I played it once, and I think, like you, I'd landed like 7 hours in it or something, and I just never went back to it because it just got really complex. But, like, give us the rundown. Like, what is the game?
So it's a player-driven economy where you decide sort of how you want to interact with the world. There's no, like, set classes like with normal MMORPGs, but you like pick a career path essentially. Do you want to be a businessman? Do you want to be a miner? Do you want to explore space? Do you want to be a military person and deal with combat? And so I went with business, just to kind of see what that career path landed. I upgraded 2 ships in my 6 hours, did like 10 or 12 missions. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. There's a huge amount of lore that's kind of hard to digest.
Yeah.
Is that like audio file stuff? Are you sitting in menus reading this stuff, or?
It's all text. There's no audio that I've encountered yet.
But so,
I don't.
like, the action is paused while you're reading menu based stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're docked at a space station usually
Okay.
to get like the mission context, and then you go out and you either have to deliver an item or you have to mine for something
I was going
to
to
bring
ask.
it back.
Are you shooting down other ships? You getting into space combat?
Are. Yeah, so you have a couple of slots on whatever ship you've got that for weapons, but those can also double as like scanners or other devices and things depending on the context. Um, but yeah, there's pirates, so you'll run into hostile ships here and there. So it's good to have at least one gun equipped.
Are you by yourself?
Yeah, I always.
Are you with like a crew?
Right now, I'm by myself.
Okay.
I think. I don't know this for a fact, but I feel like you have to get sort of pretty high level before you get involved in a corporation, which is
Okay.
the equivalent of a guild, and then there are alliances, which are groups of corporations, and then like you can fight for territory, and I haven't gotten nearly anywhere close to any of that stuff yet. I'm staying in the high security zones, which is basically there's no PvP. If somebody attacks you in a high security zone, there's NPC bots to basically take them out.
Yeah, I've always you always see like the Kotaku articles like once every few years where it's just like a fleet has been taken down. And it's like 50 grand in real world money and stuff because just like how much time and money people put in. And like you read them articles and like that is insane. Like how much sort of, but like I get it. Like if they've created their sort of like own economy and stuff and like that's their world, you know, like that if they're a fleet go into war sort of thing, like it's real circumstances for them, I guess, but without the death, obviously. But like the risk and reward of that is, it sounds pretty intense. But are you enjoying it? Like, are you going to carry on playing it?
Yeah, I probably will. I'll probably keep playing it, maybe to the detriment of my sleeping schedule
And your wife, right?
and my wife. Yeah, I don't know if she'll enjoy it.
Right, story of our lives.
So.
Cool. Yeah, so Mitch, what have you been playing, man? Like your other guest who's been pretty quiet in the corner over there, so.
I've just been listening because I've never experienced the game, so you guys had better questions than I was going to have, so I was just going to take it all in. I've been playing Cuphead on the Switch because I don't have an Xbox, so I was like, I want to play this game. Came out for Switch. I actually went to my friend's house a couple weeks ago, and he had it, and he was talking about how difficult it was, and he couldn't even get past the first level. So I was like, oh, we can co-op it. And it took us a while to beat just the first level and beat one boss. And so but it was so much fun for me. At least he was frustrated.
Is it one of those games where like it helps to have a second person, or is it your dude is dead, so he's just taking more lives sort of thing? Is it a detriment to play it in co-op, or is it how is it?
It's well, what I figured, because I'm now playing it solo from the start. I think they double the health of the boss because you have double the amount of people. But at the same time, like if you run out of lives and you die, you can resurrect your fellow person. You just have to be in the right position to do so, which is helpful because to beat one of the bosses, we ended up resurrecting each other constantly once one of us took a hit. So it is nice in that aspect where compared to playing it solo, if you run out of lives, you're done. So it has its, I think it has a good balance in that aspect.
So give us a rundown, like what is the actual game? Like I know like it's got this goofy sort of art style and stuff to it, which is like old timey sort of Disney, like beautiful
the
sort
Max
of hand
Fleischer
animated stuff.
Style art, yeah.
Yeah. 1930s animation style, which is unbelievable to look at. Like to think that no one has thought of making a game in this art style just is behooted of me.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. That's why, but they've done it really well.
It looks so
Yeah.
good, and they do a really good job of like every little thing, their animation, the other characters' animations. But anyways, it's a run and gun style game. Specifically, when they originally was making it, it was just going to be boss battles only. And these are kind of the boss battles that once you take enough health out, they end up transforming. And so there's always multiple levels to each boss battle. And the boss never is the same from beginning to end. That's one thing that I find that I really like about it is
The
like
variation of it.
It seems like a proper night. Yeah. But actually the boss itself, it's the actual person transforms throughout the entire boss battle into something else. But when you get there, it makes total sense and it sticks still with the 1930s theme of like, oh, that totally makes sense. Like this bird that is inside a clock would definitely like have something inside the clock once you shoot it enough. And then of course, like there's going to be birds helping carrying this almost dead bird that's hurt.
I don't know
shooting
if you can
stuff
say
at you
course,
from its mouth.
It sounds.
But 1930s, that's exactly what you would be doing style wise. So it's just a run and gun. And then they ended up, people loved it so much. They're like, okay, we need to add levels to it. So they have kind of platforming run and gun levels as well. It's really hard. I think I am 56%, maybe 60% through, and I've died about 600 times.
Jesus. Like I heard that it was difficult, but like the only concern I've ever had, because I read about the game getting delayed like originally because they were adding all these levels on. But are the levels, do they feel tacked on like at all, or are they fully fleshed out and decent? Did they spend time on?
No, they're fully fleshed out and decent. You can really tell that they're really, really good at making those boss battles. Right. And so the platforming is good. I just think the boss battles are such a highlight that if they didn't have the platforming levels, I would have not minded as much. But what they did with the platforming levels is you can get coins, and those coins can get you certain upgrades to be able to have certain special abilities. Which once you get further in the game, it gets a little easier because you have more options of specials that you can buy. So like you can buy specials where the bullets will automatically hit the target regardless of what direction you're running, but it's just not as impactful in regards to
you mean like homing but
damage,
less damage. Oh, okay.
Correct. Okay. Less damage. They have ones where like it's medium style damage, but it's not as long range, or there's really hard damage, but you have to be really, really close to the enemy. So because it gives you that wide variety, I think it does a really good job when you get more towards the end, that it actually makes it a little bit easier, which is nicer. There are just a couple boss battles where I think you will hit a boss battle somewhere where you're like, okay, this is not my kind of boss fight that I'm good at. So you really have to work at it, where some of them are like, this is easy. Why is this here?
Yeah, no, it is a game that I do want to check out. Like it's always, because it was on Xbox One first, and then it came to PC, and I've got a PC. I know I could play it, and then it started coming to all these other platforms, and now it's just like in my backlog of shame sort of thing, because people love this game, and I still haven't gotten around to it, but one day soon, I hope. But yeah, anyway, moving on, we should talk about our topic this week, and because we have 4 guests, we're going to keep it nice and tight for about, I don't know, a good segment each, I guess. But Evan, do you want to sort of run us through what we're going to be talking about this week?
Yeah, so the topic for this week is bad game, but I love it. And this, in regards to last episode, Vin, you had mentioned that Days Gone was a diamond in the rough, but not in the sense that it's a great game in a sea of bad games, but rather that there's a great game at the core that is trapped around its own deficiencies.
Right.
And I think that I was just on the train, I'm thinking, there are a lot of bad games that do have that nice, shiny part at its center. It just takes a long way sometimes to dig through that and find it. And so I was just thinking, I think all of us have maybe more than one game, but a game that it's terrible, it's no good, it's the general consensus is that it's bad. But regardless of that, we just happen to love it for whatever reason. So yeah, that's the background for that. And I guess I'll kick it off with the game that reminded me, or at least led me to think of this topic, which is a game that, looking at Wikipedia, and this is a really, really weird one.
It's not Yakuza, is it? Like, you're going to talk about Yakuza again, aren't you?
No,
Like, this is like, I'm set up. This is a setup. It's got to be.
That's a great game wrapped inside of also a great game. It's like turducken or like a burrito that has another burrito inside of it.
Evan, you're an idiot. Just...
Weirdly enough, this game has and this is, I don't know about the Guinness Book of World Records. Everything is getting so, there's like subgenres of stuff. It's getting so specific that it's like,
right, it's getting really granular.
Yeah, like,
almost.
Okay, I jump roped 3 times in a row while balancing 3 books on my head and eating a double scoop of ice cream. Like, you know what I mean? Like that type of weird shit. But anyways, this holds the Guinness World Record for the most critically polarized survival horror game. Okay, what does that mean? I'm not sure. But the game in question is Deadly Premonition, also known as the Red Seeds Profile in Japan. And when that came to the West, they're like, we cannot keep that name.
What is it with Japanese games? Just like, let's throw like random words together and pick 3.
Oh man, the titles of video games from Japan are just like, they just don't even make sense. Like sometimes in Japanese they're like that as well, and I think that's why they get translated that way. But like I can't keep track of like the Street Fighter Turbo X fucking 3000 Turbo Edition like stuff.
The classic,
just so many tacked on things.
Running joke of ridiculously named releases of like Street Fighter 2, but with extra characters, and it's a completely ridiculous name. And then the more that come out, you don't even know what came first and all that type of thing. But yeah. Deadly Premonition. Has anyone played this game?
No.
Nope. Is it all right? Like, give us the rundown of why it was bad first before you go into why it was good.
Okay, before it's bad, I'll give you just a basic rundown of what the game is about. So it's by
of course, yeah.
Hidetaka Suehiro, Swery65. I don't know. Some people might be familiar with him.
Suda65, yeah.
No, you're thinking of Suda51, I think, who does the Travis
right.
touchdown games. The fuck are they called?
Travis.
No More Heroes.
No More Heroes, yeah.
No More Heroes.
So basically, it looks like one of those Japanese games where it's like they had a lot of great ideas. They just didn't have enough money and a good engine to make that a realization. But you can tell there's a lot of heart and soul and blood, sweat, and tears put into this game. It's just like not enough money, super janky, textures look terrible. There's a lot going on in this game. So basically, Deadly Premonition is okay. Let me stop me if you've ever heard this bulletin point in a show. It's set in a fictional town in Washington. There's an FBI agent that comes to the town because a 18-year-old girl has been murdered, and he's trying to figure out the mystery of what's going on in this small, sleepy Washington kind of blue-collar rural town.
Sounds like Alan Wake.
Like if I was about to say that, I was like, yeah, that sounds like Alan Wake almost. Like if I'd forgotten what Alan Wake was actually like, I guess. But it kind of
so was Deadly Premonition and Alan Wake based on Twin Peaks?
This game is totally Twin Peaks. It's Twin Peaks in everything but name, and even down to like the deputy Emily Wyatt is modeled. She's not, but she's totally modeled after Naomi Watts. Okay. Because Naomi Watts was in David Lynch film Mulholland Drive. David Lynch directed Twin Peaks. There's a sheriff's assistant named Thomas McClane. I'm pretty sure that's probably after Bruce Willis's character in Die Hard. So, which is a completely different thing. But basically, it's this guy wanted to make a game based on Twin Peaks. There's 2 alternate universes that are in dreams called like the White Room and the Red Room. There's 2 in Twin Peaks as well that several characters visit. So it's basically Twin Peaks, the game. Basically what it is these 2 twins are playing in the woods and they find this 18-year-old girl strapped to a tree with her just completely gutted. And her death is very similar to a death that happened in another town in Washington So the FBI comes in because these are possibly connected, which is the exact same thing that happens in Twin Peaks. Laura, the FBI agent, and Cooper removes a small letter R under Laura Palmer's fingernail. It's a signature of a killer in another town in Washington the year before. So it's like totally, let's just do Twin Peaks, but we don't have the money to make like this open world game, but let's try it. So it's an open world survival horror game, but it's open world in the sense of, sorry guys, I'm going to mention Yakuza only
Jesus
because
it's hubs, right?
So yeah, it's like, it's not open world, but there's an area for you to explore.
Semi-open world sort of thing, yeah.
Semi-open world, yeah, for what they could do. So you're exploring this town, and it just hits all the highlights of Twin Peaks as well. There's the supernatural, there's horror, there's mystery. There's a guy called the Raincoat Killer who just wields this giant scythe. Like, you got your melodrama. You got these kooky, wacky, campy, interesting characters because it's like a small town. It's just like super memorable. You got like the biker guy that owns a gas station that doesn't trust the cops. You have the creepy insomniac gravekeeper. You have this old woman who you just pops up in random places in the town holding a pot and saying like the pot's hot.
I have no idea what's happening right now.
You got these super crazy, memorable characters, exactly like Twin Peaks.
Like, what do you do in this game? Is it like a third-person, like, sort of action-adventure game where you just wander around?
Yeah, it's third-person, over-the-right shoulder action-adventure game. And the director's cut updated the graphics a bit, had some additional story cutscenes, and most importantly, it updated the controls. And I played the director's cut, and even the updated controls are terrible. They are so bad. So basically, you'll get into these areas where cross this boundary between like the supernatural. So like you're in the hospital, but it's completely warped in some way. And so you have all these enemies that they're like humans, but backs are curved and they're walking towards you backwards. That's like every enemy in this game. It's really, really weird. And they make these really weird sounds.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, it is pretty creepy. And then, but like the sounds they make, like the sound effects are cheesy as fuck. It's just like, so the shooting is just bad. It's like
you are not selling this game, dude, like at all. Like you just.
So, I think one of the reasons that the game is so bad, like I said, like the textures, it looks bad. The reticle, the aiming reticle is like just off. There's a huge difference between the walking exploration aspect and the combat. It's like they tried to flick a light switch for when it's like, oh, okay, it's time for combat. He has his gun out, but then like the light just like all the lights in the room like explode, and then like there's just broken glass all over the floor, and then you turn the light switch off and everything's back to normal. And actually, I just read earlier today that they decided to put the combat in at the like way late in the development of the game, which is probably why it seems so jarring.
Might need it another year or something.
Yeah, so the game doesn't look very good. The combat is bad. There's a lot of combat in there. It's a bit janky. But the reason that I've explained all this about the setting and the story and then got to the shitty parts later is because the game is good because of the story. Everyone knows each other in the town, and so you're constantly jumping from location to location and trying to meet all these kooky people, and then you'll go to this kind of supernatural part of it for like the shooty gameplay. But everything is because you're trying to figure out it's the same as Twin Peaks. I don't know if any of you guys have seen Twin Peaks.
I know of it.
No,
I've seen. I haven't sat through the whole series, but I've seen bits and pieces.
But it sounds like basically you're saying it's worth going through the crummy parts of the shooting in that to know what happens next in the story. So that's the thing that keeps you going.
Right. So in Twin Peaks, Laura Palmer is dead the first episode. So the whole thing is, and this was a huge thing back when the show came out. It was who killed Laura Palmer. That's what everyone wanted to know. The first thing you see in this game is this woman. I think her name is Anagram. Which is what a fucking name.
This hurts my brain.
It's like, there you go. She's brutally murdered, and there's this guy called the Raincoat Killer, and you're working with the sheriff's department to try to figure out like who killed her. And so, you know how Vin, when last episode we were talking about side quests, and what makes an interesting side quest, the mystery behind like what is this supernatural world that keeps popping up? Who are these kind of like zombie-esque creatures I'm fighting? Who is the Raincoat Killer? Who's Anna? The name of the game in Japan is Red Seed's Profile. There's these trees that bloom in the city that produce these red seeds. That has something to do with the killer and why she was killed. So
the story sort of wraps around, and that's the thing that you sort of that pulls you through the experience, and that's why you find it so memorable. And
yes.
It honestly kind of sounds like if Yakuza and Silent Hill had a baby, and it was slightly deformed. That's this game.
Yeah, I'd say it is a bit deformed.
It's also kind of reminding me of Stranger Things a little bit too. Because you got the upside down, you got the small town, you got the people that know each other. I've been watching Stranger Things right now, so that's kind of the thing that's on my mind.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you guys haven't played it, so I can't really discuss any of the interesting things that we'd come across. But
so it's our fault, basically. Okay.
It's totally your fault.
That's fine.
It is hard to recommend to someone to play now.
I think all of these games are going to be like that.
Yeah, this was in my dark days where like it was 2015, but I still hadn't purchased a PlayStation 4.
Good times.
Oh, is this out for PS3 or what system is this out for?
This was for PS3, yeah. But if anyone likes Twin Peaks, this game is Twin Peaks in all but name. It's like there's so much ripped off from that series, but I do think it's at its core, it's a good game, but it's super polarizing. Destructoid gave it a 10 out of 10. IGN gave it a 2 out of 10.
So that's why they were talking about being so polarizing then. Like, I didn't know if it was just like a case of like everyone rated it badly, or if it was like some people really liked it and then other people really hated it. So yeah, that's an interesting dynamic to it.
Yeah, it really depends on what you locked onto.
Right.
The story.
No, that's cool,
game,
man.
The controls, but yeah. So yeah, Deadly Premonition is a terrible game, but
a game that you should check out, but not check out, I guess.
Yes. should look up that OST though. That whistling song is pretty sweet.
I can imagine. All right, moving on. Berkough, are you gonna kick us off? What's your pick?
All right, so I think I've mentioned this game on Podcast Reload before, and I had it in the show notes as a maybe game, and then Keith McWomble messaged us on Twitter and said Matt better talk about Technomancer.
Without knowing that you were going to.
Yeah, without knowing that I had put it in the show notes. So I have to talk about Technomancer again. Essentially, this is a game by Spiders, the developer that did Mars Warlogs. They did another game called Bound by Flame. They're essentially known for doing really bad renditions of BioWare style RPGs, I guess. And Technomancer is no exception. It has sort of an Obsidian quality jank to it, which is one of the reasons I like it. But I think the thing, just like with Deadly Premonition, the thing that gets you through most of the game is the writing and the story. So like the world and the characters are really interesting, and some of the writing is just like, I don't know, it's really witty, and yeah, I mean that's my bad game that I actually really love. Interestingly enough, before we started the podcast, I was telling Evan that I was at dinner with a couple of friends, and I had introduced the Technomancer to one of our friends, and then that friend introduced Technomancer to another friend, and so him and I happened to both like it, but our other friend who just started playing it just interjected out of nowhere. Like, we were totally talking about something else. He's like, "Oh, by the way, fuck Technomancer, dude. That game sucks."
But like the way you've been talking about it, it's been pretty positive. Like, why is it considered a bad game? I guess like because like from the sound of it, you're really enjoying it.
Okay, so you know how people talk about like Bethesda bugs, like
Okay.
you can kind of get past the bugs in a Bethesda game,
Hmm.
or like in an Obsidian
Right.
game, you can kind of get past the bugs most of the time.
Sometimes.
This game has like just jank on a whole nother level. So like
Super jank.
yeah, like animations don't flow right it has action style combat, so like when you try to dodge or do like a certain attack, like the frames don't quite hit right, and yeah, it's just it's it's a it's a grind to get through what you're doing most of the game, which is like combat,
Right.
Okay.
and so it's difficult. It's difficult to get through those aspects, and it's hard to enjoy the story, and unless you're willing to put up with just how bad the combat is, or like
Right.
you go to hop into a vehicle and your character doesn't actually get into the vehicle.
Oh Jesus! All
Yeah,
right, so it's buggy as hell.
yeah,
You can't
basically.
really enjoy the story because like everything gets in the way of it. The combat's garbage apparently. Why do you like this game? Like, what's the thing that draws you back and like got you to the end of it?
It's definitely the story, and the lore is actually really well written. So takes place. It's a sequel to the Mars Warlogs game. So they already have this whole world that they've developed, and like different class structures and things.
Mhm.
And it has good side missions like Obsidian does, or like Bethesda does. So you can go down little rabbit holes. And if you can get past the combat and level your character up enough that it doesn't matter that you're completely shit at it, you'll get those gems of the story.
Right. It kind of got like that way for me. Like I was talking about Days Gone last week, and it's sort of like that as well. Like there's a lot of jank and there's a lot of stuff which gets in the way of that game, but like the story has a lot of heart almost, and you've got to like you have to push through to get to them islands of the story sort of thing almost. Like I know a lot of people might disagree, but it sort of feels like that similar sort of rhythm to it.
Yeah, I would say so. Um, I actually have a clip on my YouTube channel of one conversation that took place, and it was just like, holy shit, this isn't this game. Um,
Mm.
Talking about you're trying to find a prostitute, and you go to like one of the crime lords in the city, and it's like, wow, everything about this game is just complete crap. But then you get into like these serious conversations, like that was pretty deep, you know?
Yeah. That's interesting. So it's just like do you think like if they had like an extra year of sort of production on it or something, like it would probably be better for it? Or is it just
Mm,
something that you think that no, they wouldn't have been able to fix this? This is like grassroots sort of thing. Like, but
they could
you know,
have. I don't know how long it would have taken them to polish it, but
Mm.
right.
there is a good game in there somewhere. If somebody picked up this franchise, yeah, or that universe, they could definitely make a good game out of it for sure.
And for people that
Awesome.
haven't played it, what system is this on and what year did it come out?
That's a good question. I don't remember what year it came out. I think it came out in 2016.
It was pretty recent, right? Like I remember it coming out and it just fizzled like instantly. It was just like it's out, and like no one talked about it.
Yeah. So 2016, it's for PS4, Windows, Xbox One.
The big three.
So you can pick it up right now. I think our friend who recently picked up the game got it like $5 in the bargain bin.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh, worth the playthrough
Nice.
then, I guess. I mean, would you recommend it? That's the real question. Like, would you tell people like, yeah, this is a good game, or would you preface it like, this is terrible? Like, you should
If
probably not play this game, but if you can get through it, you'll enjoy it.
yeah, the latter. If you can get through it, absolutely. If you're a fan of BioWare style RPGs, or if you're a fan of like Alpha Protocol, which is that was my other choice for like bad but good.
Yeah.
If you like those style of games, it's got good ideas, just fails on the execution pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's hilarious. I mean, like at the moment, I'm currently playing through The Witcher 1 on PC, and that game, oof, like everything that you're saying, it reminds me a lot of what you're saying. It's like that game is awful. It's objectively bad. Like don't play it. Like The Witcher 1 is terrible. Start on The Witcher 2. That's literally what everyone keeps telling me, but I'm trying to push
The
through
Witcher
it.
3 is like some of that combat is a bit difficult to get through to get to the meaty parts of the great side quests.
You don't
Some
understand.
of the combat. I mean,
The Witcher 1, like literally the way The Witcher 1 works, it's not actually like an action RPG like The Witcher 3 is. It's like a rhythm game almost. So like you click on it and Geralt will just do like all his animations, and then you've got to like the sword will glow red like when it's ready to like, hey, do you want to get a combo sort of thing? So you have to click again.
weird.
And it's a hard.
It almost makes you question. It almost makes you question of how in the world did that get from there.
How is
there?
The Witcher 2 funded? It blows my mind. Like I'm just like I'm playing this game, and it's like the Technomancer, like you're saying. It's just the combat is terrible. The side quests are like really really interesting in terms of like the carrot on the end of the stick sort of thing, but everything gets in the way of it. Like the game is janky as hell. It looks terrible because it's like a 15-year-old game now or something. But there's islands of story in there which are good, but it's
That's
hard
a good
to
way
get
to I think about some of these games. You said everything gets in the way of the good parts, right?
Yeah.
Like it's same with Deadly Premonition.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything gets in the way of the good parts.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, anything else that you want to say about it, man, before we move on, or
No,
wrapped up?
I think the game speaks for itself. Watch a few trailers, watch some gameplay video. Any gameplay video you pull up is going to have the issues that I'm describing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, Vin,
Awesome.
what is a bad game that you happen to love?
I had a couple here, and I just looked one of them up, and I realized like I've got this. Like I can't actually tackle one of them because I've just realized that I work at the fucking studio that made it. I've never realized. Like I literally had no idea. But I had Naruto Rise of the Ninja on there from the Xbox 360 games, which was like an exclusive, but I had no idea that Ubisoft made that. Like I literally just looked it up and was like, no, we didn't. And I had to triple check it.
I
was
like,
like, okay,
thought that was
mind.
Bandai Namco.
Right, that's what I thought. But like, apparently they had the rights for a couple of years, and they were like, make a couple of games. And Ubisoft were like, okay, that's Ubisoft Montreal made that. Like, what are the odds? I had no idea, so I'm not going to tackle that one. Instead, I'm going to take on another game, which is dear to my heart, which is arguably like the worst game in human history, and everyone trashes it every time they go near this thing. But I'm going to talk about Tenchu Z or Tenchu Z, which was an Xbox 360 exclusive. It came out in 2007. Arguably just a bad game. Like it's just awful, terrible.
So I'm guessing you're a fan of the Tenchu series.
Not really. I mean, I
Really?
dabbled in them now and then, but Tenchu Z was like the one that I really got into. Well, Tenchu Z. I'm gonna say Z because like most people on here, like everyone here is an American, I guess. Like so, but yeah. I mean, this game's got like I think it's sitting at like 58 on Metacritic, which is impressively bad. It's basically a stealth action game, and they put you in like a level based system. So it's sort of, and it's made by From Software. This is like their last game before Dark Souls. So this is like their last coup de grace of making bad games before they started getting good.
Oh, wow.
You could say, yeah. So
it's like CG Project Red all over again.
Yeah, it's basically The Witcher 1 for From Software. That's what it is.
Yeah, if at first you don't succeed, I guess.
Yeah, just keep hammering, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, so it's just a level-based ninja game, stealth action, massive levels of jank. Like it looks like a PS2 game, HD remastered. I think it was like almost a release title, if not a release title. It was pretty close. Hurts the eyes to look at. The animations are super rigid and boring. There's pretty much no story to be spoken of in any story that it is. It's basically every single level is you have a target that you have to go and take out as a ninja, and they're placed somewhere randomly in the level, and you've got to go and find them. And you just stealth your way, and you can just beeline to them within like 30 seconds every single level sort of thing. So you can probably finish the game in like an hour if you wanted to. But for some stupid unknown reason, like I got absolutely hooked on this thing, and I still don't know to this day why. But the story is terrible. Like the way it looks is awful. It's got some like character customization in there, which is
are there
decent. You find.
Are there like special like kind of like ninja items that allow you to tackle the level in different ways so you can keep playing missions over and over?
Yes.
Okay.
There is, and I experimented with them a lot because I played the hell out of the game. I played through this game 3 times in all of the difficulties because I played it. I know, it's impressive. Like if you played it, like you'd know how much more impressive that is.
It's you even get through it the first time.
Yeah, but I mean, it was one of them games, and this is going to crawl Evan. Like all of his skin is just going to like turn backwards because of this. It's one of them games where if you play it in medium mode, like it doesn't unlock any of the achievements for the easy mode. It doesn't stack.
That is some bullshit. Right. That is the worst thing ever.
Yeah, I agree. That's BS.
So it's one of those.
The balls on this game.
I played through.
Hey, if you want all those achievement points, you're gonna have to play through it 3 times. Unbelievable.
Yeah, man. So I played the medium mode and I was like, oh fuck, it doesn't stack. So I played the hard mode and then like I went back to the easy mode last, which was like really depressing. And I even finished it in easy mode. But yeah, you could just beeline. You get tools like you mentioned, and you can tackle the level in different ways if you want. But the game is so terrible, it doesn't really force you to use any of them. So you can just go through the whole game without using them. But there's so many like good things in there. Like there's like poison darts and all this sort of stuff, distractions and traps and stuff like that. And they're really cool to use and they're fun. But you just never have to use them, sort of thing. So I went through the whole game.
Do you think the game, based on what you're explaining, it sounds like a early rendition of Sekiro?
Right. And it's really, really interesting you mentioned that because I was, like when I was playing Sekiro recently, like it had some serious like Tenchu Z vibes or Tenchu Z vibes. Okay. I'm going to keep saying that. I'm sorry, guys. It had some serious, like weird vibes, and just the way it looks and the way it moves. Sometimes you just got like these flashbacks of like, oh fuck, that was Tenchu Z. Like, you know, just really strange moments. But Sekiro is arguably, like, obviously it's the better game. But yeah, just an awful, awful game. But considering how terrible it is, like in every shape and form, like there's nothing really good to say about the game. But for some strange unknown reason, that was my game that I came home to. Like I used to work at a fucking chicken restaurant in England. I used to go home and just play that game. And like that was the game. Like it was just mindless, you know? Like you're just playing the game and I'm just stealthing like all the guys in the level and trying to get ninja level 5, which is like the S rank ninja on all the levels and stuff. So I was just going through the game like level after level after level, and I just got hooked into it, you know. And and I got so good at it, like I was doing backflips off the top of buildings and stuff, and landing on guys' heads to like stealth attack them and stuff. But considering how much I played it, like there were really good things about it, which a lot of games didn't take on board as much as they probably should have. Like there was no real map in the game. There was only like a motion sensor sort of thing, which was number based in the bottom left hand corner. So you could, like when you were getting close to an enemy, that number will get bigger. So you knew there was an enemy around. So you had to keep aware of like where you were and how you're going to tackle certain things. But that's pretty much the only good thing about the game, if I'm honest. Like it's terrible. I can't recommend it in any way. And I totally agree with like every single like review of giving it like 5 out of 10. I think GameSpot gave it a 4.5. Something like that. That's impressive.
Just
that's impressive.
Right time for you, or wrong place, wrong time, whatever word you want to choose there.
I guess. Yeah, I mean, it was a release title. It was one of the first games I got on my Xbox 360.
How are the graphics? If it's one of the first games you got in your 360, like were you like, wow, this is that step up type of thing, or?
No, not really. I mean, it was what like even even at the time, you kind of like, wow, this kind of looks like a PS2 game remastered. And I would like strongly assume that the game was getting made for the PS2, and then they were like, oh fuck, the 360 is coming out. It's the first one that's coming out, so let's jump on next gen sort of thing. And it blows my mind that they were ever funded for Dark Souls after that game. Like I'm just like, how have you still got jobs? Like this is impressive. You know, it's that terrible. But I don't know. I just got hooked into it, and I got caught in that loop, and I was just going through all the levels, doing ninja level 5 on everything. I got so good at it. Like my friends were just coming over and being like, "Why are you playing this? Like there's new games coming out. Like Rainbow Vegas came out, and everyone was playing that year." And I was like, "No, man, it's all about Tenchu Z."
Is it safe to assume that all of us have played the original on PlayStation?
No, it's not safe to assume.
Wow. I had a demo disc with the first Tenchu on it that I did run through.
Tenchu Stealth Assassins,
yeah.
the original.
I've never even heard of it until you talked about it just now. So now I got to look this up.
Okay, Mister.
What?
I don't even know.
You've never heard of Tenchu?
I didn't even know what Galaga was. Never gonna let that go.
Okay, I think it was. I was assuming it was something like Space Invaders or something like that. It had the look of it. I just never heard of the title.
Fair enough.
Hey, Mitch, welcome to Earth.
There you go.
So Vin, when you started playing Tenchu Z, or Tenchu Z, did you like expect to have the same experience as playing the original?
Yes, I know, and it's way better than the original. Don't get me wrong. Like if you go back and play Tenchu Stealth Assassins on PS1,
that's what I was gonna say, because I picked it up at a retro shop here in town for like $2, and I was like, oh, I loved this game when I was a kid. And I popped it in, and I was like, "This game is fucking horrible."
Yeah,
like,
it's bad. It's really
it's just as
but
bad.
That's the thing. Like, it's the best Tenchu it's the best Tenchu game like out of all of them. But it's like in this day and age, it's god awful. And them games like age really well, like in nostalgia sort of thing. Like if you just leave them there, like I would always tell people, like if you hadn't tried Stealth Assassins, I would have told you straight away, like, don't play it again. Just leave it in the land of nostalgia, like where it belongs. It's beautiful there. It looks really good. Just leave it there. It's fine. Like just leave it alone. It's okay.
There are tons of games that like we should just leave in the land of nostalgia. That's a good place to. That's a good
like
name 90%. For it. Just leave it in the land of nostalgia.
90% of all
to talk
PS1
about games to leave alone in land of nostalgia.
Yeah. Coming up on
that's a future topic.
Yeah. Well, it's good though.
Sure,
by the way,
definitely.
Vin, I'm gonna create a new YouTube like playlist. I'm gonna name it Tenchu Z Vibes. sounds good.
All right, I'll make a rival channel called Yakuza Vibes, and I'll just trash games in there all day. Burn
six stealth burn from a true Tenchu Z master.
Little do you know, Vin, there are 3 people on this call that definitely are enjoying Yakuza compared to your not enjoying Yakuza.
No, I'm joking. I've got Yakuza 0. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
No, it's not bad. It's great.
See, no matter what we fucking do, no matter what we do, like we can talk about anything. We can talk about bad games, good games. We can talk about any sort of subject whatsoever, and Yakuza still comes around.
I will argue in this case, you're the one that brought it up.
True.
All right, Mitch. How about yourself?
Fair comment. All right. Yeah.
So mine is going to the PlayStation 2 generation. And it is it came out for GameCube, Windows, PlayStation 2, and Xbox in 2003. And it is Enter the Matrix, the game.
Jesus.
Which
wasn't it supposed to be canon?
It is canon.
It is canon still.
Yep. They have sequences in the cutscenes that are filmed by the Wachowski brothers. The whole game was actually directed by the Wachowski brothers to fit within Matrix Revolution, not Revelation, Reloaded. Sorry, Reloaded.
Yeah, it was the second
Correct.
one, right?
Yes, it fits between the second one. So when you meet Jada Pinkett Smith's character, and I think the other character is Ghost. I can't remember what she's called, her nickname, but it's what they're up to when you kind of meet up with them in Reloaded. It's like, what did they do beforehand, and then what they did after.
Okay, filling in the gaps.
Exactly. And you can play as one or the other. And the cool part, it's similar to, it's not an exact comparison, but Resident Evil 2 is a good comparison of like both characters, both storylines make sense together.
Okay.
And they go at the same time. So there's some sequences you'll run into that only one character will play, because then you learn one of them is Trinity's brother. So you fight Trinity in one of them. And you'll learn something else about the other character. And so you have to play both to get the full story. The game is basically an action-adventure game. Let's just start with the horrible, because I want to go great next. The horrible parts about it is it tries to be a platformer in some aspects, and it is not a platformer. Like, its mechanics to platform are horrible. Like,
Didn't it have like wall running and stuff? Like I vaguely remember.
So
this.
wall running, yes, the wall running's okay. The issue is the jumping. The jumping is really bad in this game, and also trying to like grab onto edges to pull yourself up, like Tomb Raider style, is also really, really bad. Like it's just not as responsive to like when you're near an edge that they'll grab onto the ledge, or that the jump, you're not sure if the jump will make it all the way across. You're not sure, or you might over jump it and then like go over the platform. So it's not meant to be a platformer. It's meant to be like the elements that it does really, really great, which is why I love this game, is it really does make you feel like you're in the Matrix though, when you're running, and then you can like slow down time at any moment. You can slow down time when people are shooting bullets at you and you can dodge the bullets. You can slow down time when you're doing hand-to-hand combat, which is really cool. You can slow down when you're shooting your weapon. And
see, that sounds cool. That sounds like a cool mechanic.
Yeah, like that part of the element works amazingly well. And so like you can switch between shooting guns, which the shooting guns is not excellent. It's okay. The bread and butter what this game is, it's hand-to-hand combat. So kind of what it does is when you initiate combat with a person, it basically like changes the camera angle from behind you to like a fighter style, like a Street Fighter style, where it's one character on one end, the other character on the other, and then you kind of fight that way. And then you can do like cool combos. You can jump on the wall and kick them, or you can do like cool kicking or punching combos. You can grab them and turn them over and flip them and smack them in their neck. Like there's some really cool fighting mechanics in it. It's just the rest is real rough, but it's so fun to get to like the next fighting scene that I'm like, I'm down.
It's like, look at Sub-Zero Mythologies, where they took the idea of like Mortal Kombat. They're like, hey, let's put platforming in here, but just keep the exact same controls as a game that's specifically designed for one thing and one thing only, and that's a fighting game. And it was just like the things that connected those 2 points were just fucking terrible.
It sounds like a game that was designed by movie directors. You know?
It's very cinematic. Like the whole experience is really, really cinematic. Like everything from all the different camera angles you get, from the sequences you do, it's if you want to play like a movie game that's like seems like a movie, this is it. And it's actually one you could get through.
It's probably one of the first games that did that, if I remember. Like being on, like I remember having a PS2 and this game coming out. I was like, oh my god, it looks like the movie sort of thing. I remember that was like the first time that really gripped me.
Right.
I guess like there was movie tie-ins and stuff on like the PS1, but that was the first one that was like really, really.
Well, it seems like they put a bit of money behind it as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, right. and it sold pretty well too. I think it said it sold 5 million copies.
I'm guessing they wanted to make this like a series, like a video game trilogy.
Well, no, what they were trying to go for is they were doing an animated anime, or a different kind of animated style to make the Animatrix that ties into... I remember
the Animatrix. I like that, actually.
To tie into Matrix Reloaded, and then the game was the third element. They wanted to basically like attack multiple media platforms to say this is the full Matrix experience for the Matrix 2 and 3. Right. Was these are the things, like, because like there's a certain section in the Animatrix that is like the origin of how this all happened, and one of them is also the kind of the prequel to number 2, so that like what sets up number 2 happening. So it kind of was just another medium to attack, and that's what the Wachowskis wanted.
So maybe similar to how probably my love of Twin Peaks got me through Deadly Premonition, did like the whole zeitgeist of the Matrix, is that one reason why that you kind of pushed through this game, do you think?
Yeah, and actually this game crashed. This game crashes a couple times if you do something wrong. So I actually had this game crash on me multiple times, but I still wanted to keep playing it because I was enjoying it, like the rest of the stuff, so much.
And what platform did you say that you played this on?
PS2. I still have it.
You did play it? Okay.
It's on my shelf right here.
Is it right next to you? Next to Tomb Raider?
No.
Okay.
It's not next to me. Not next to Tomb Raider.
I feel like that was such a rare occurrence on PlayStation 2 or GameCube or original Xbox for a game to just crash.
Oh, that is weird.
Absolutely.
Good question.
happened.
That's why it was so noticeable.
Weird. It was a glitch in the it was a glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry,
I was about
someone had to
say
say it.
You beat me. Yeah, like as soon as I thought about it, like you started talking, I was like, "Motherfucker, he's gonna say it, isn't he?"
Yeah, I bet.
No, it is interesting. Like the whole crashes in games, I guess, because like a load of people are like, "Oh, do you remember the good old days when games didn't break and there was no patches and stuff?" It's like you have no idea, dude. Like there's plenty of games that broke. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
So.
I mean, I think they had a couple other sequences in this game that made it also like not very good. Like they have a driving sequence where you have to like drive around and you control the other person to shoot off the gun, and it's
Sounds bad.
But the cool part is like, so in the second movie when they're on the highway where Trinity's fighting on the freeway, you're driving the car to like go meet them to catch her when she falls down. When Morpheus falls down from the semi, you catch him on the car. Like you play that sequence in the game to lead up to that moment where she catches him on the car when he falls off the semi.
That's
so
fascinating.
like,
I mean, that's directly like sort of like attached. To
exactly, it is like so much attached to this movie, and like the sequence where they're gonna like turn down the power grid so the Keymaster can get him to go see, I forgot the guy's name, but the Keymaker.
The
architect. Thank you. Yes, and so
right.
The sequence where she's like, "Oh yeah, we need to turn off the power." You see that like quick sequence, but you actually play that entire sequence in the game to shut off the power. Like to go into the.
See, I finished this game. I don't remember any of this. Like whatsoever. I remember like when I was a kid, like I blasted through it and I was like, yeah, that was a really good game. And then I just never touched it again. I don't think anyone did either, apart from Mitch.
The only thing I will say is the ending is horrible. Like it is really bad, but at the same time, I know it's like a companion piece to the master work that they're trying to create. Because like in the end sequence, you're driving one of those space thingy bajigger. I want to call them spaceships, but it's like those electric magnet in the real world. Yeah. And you're being chased by those sentinel thingies, and the controls are horrible for that. Like compared to the driving, I'll take the driving sequence over this thing because this thing is bad.
Awesome. Now it kind of reminds me of I don't know if you guys ever played Lord of the Rings game, The Third Age, which was like an RPG, but it's basically like you're like the B tier sort of fellowship, and you're basically just behind like the main fellowship.
The one that never comes in contact with the actual fellowship.
Yeah, exactly. And they're just constantly like 1 second behind them. Like they go through like the mines of Moria and stuff, and there's like shit falling down. Like, oh god! And then, like you see the actual fellowship running over the bridge of Khazad-dûm and stuff, and they're like underneath it, like, oh no! It's really funny. But it kind of reminds me.
And the only last thing I want to mention, like I talked about how you can do the two different characters. What I really love, and they didn't cheat in this aspect of like sometimes they cheat of going like, oh, the person that you choose is always going to be the one that drives when you have the driving sequences. No, like Ghost is the character that always shoots guns. So basically, when you play as Ghost, you're shooting, but when you play as, I think it's Naomi is her name. When you play as her, Niobe, thank you. Yes, she drives, and so like when you're playing as Ghost, someone else is driving for you, and you're just shooting. And when you play as Niobe, she's driving, and then you can call on Ghost to shoot his gun, and it happens every time because she, as the character, always says she drives. So it like sticks to that, which is so like, wow, this is great. Like they're sticking to the character. They're not going like, oh, Niobe, you can just not drive this time, even though your character always says I drive.
Well, yeah,
I like it when games do that, when they got the balls to just like stick to their guns sort of thing. I mean, that's why I like Final Fantasy 9 so much, because like the set characters are, this is a white mage, this is a black mage, this is like a warrior, like they're all set, and if you haven't got them in your pie, then you tough luck, dude, you sort of thing. And I really like it when games do that sometimes.
And the final thing I'll just say about this game, I think it's still playable today. Like I think I actually probably will go try it now after like making me think about this. I think it's still playable today, like still doable if someone wanted to try it out. It is. I think it's worth giving it a shot, as Berkough said, which I think was the perfect phrase. I'll let the game speak for itself.
Right. Which might not be a good thing considering like all these games that we've spoken about, but yeah, I see how it is. But yeah, no, I think what like sort of sticks with us all is just like them islands of good bits, which we keep wanting to get to. Like all of our choices that we've had has just been either it's been the story or just like the general game loop sort of thing. So there's always a good game in every bad game, I guess. Like, well, there's got to be after fucking Tenchu Z. But you know.
Yeah.
I am curious. Am I not remembering this correctly, or was there an online Matrix game too?
There was.
There also is the Path of Neo for the PS2, and that's a better game.
Mitch, you know too much about Matrix video games.
I was a huge fan of the Matrix. I have all the movies. Like, I was a hardcore fan as a kid. Like, that was my big thing. That was like one of my first rated R movies I got to see as a kid. I think Resident Evil was my first one, but that was like my second one, as my dad let me go see that with them.
The first rated R movie I saw was Alien 3 in the theaters in second grade. It's a bit too young for that.
I can't even remember what I saw.
All right, well, next episode, rated R movies that we are too young to watch. Just fuck video games. Yeah. Just who cares? Movies, whatever. It doesn't matter.
We could do a side podcast. Yeah. Do a side hustle.
Side hustle.
Side hustle.
Side hustle.
Welcome to the
Gotta get them clicks, yo. Gotta get them clicks. All right. Yeah, we should wrap this thing up anyway. Yes. But just want to say a massive thank you to Berkough and Mitch for joining us. Thank you very much, gents. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.
So do you want to give a shout out? Do you want to give a shout out to like what you guys are up to? Obviously, you got the Beerumverate. Like, where can people find that and all that sort of good stuff?
You go first.
The Beerumverate always gets curated on Sifted, so you can always check it out there. I do my own videos on my own channel on YouTube, Berkough. You can find me there. Hit me up on Twitter.
Awesome. What about you, Mitch? Where can people find you and what do you do?
You can find me on Twitter, Mitch Sikor. And then I have a channel called Freeze Frame Rate. I do stuff on there. I just did a breakdown of Cuphead going to Netflix. So I break down just major aspects in that capacity, but I also do reactions, all that kind of fun stuff. And no, you can check me out there. And I hop on the Beerumverate enough that I guess you can check me on there because I am the official, unofficial host. And if you want me to make me official, then you gotta go yell at Keith because he couldn't make it this time, so I can make fun of him now.
Keith?
Yeah,
Keith? Who's that?
Keith McWomble. He's been captured by the Yakuza. Evan sent them because he was trying to bash Yakuza last week.
I think he's currently being chased by them on the beach somewhere in England wearing some
Could you imagine that? Like, just the image of that. Just like a bunch of Yakuza chasing McWomble through the sand of like overcast grey clouds.
Full suits.
They're dressed as the Hoff.
Yeah, they're full suits, right? Black suits, black ties, shades, and he's got the Hoff, like bright blood red swimming trunks on.
Shorts.
Just fucking chugging it through that beach, yeah.
Do you know how much money I would pay to see that movie? Just
$0.
Right, it would be worth every penny though.
It would. It is worth free.
All right, yeah. What about you, Evan? What's your Twitter handle?
At the Stand User on Sifted, Giant Bomb, and Twitter. And I know the Sifted.net blog area is like a big dead zone, but I recently wrote a blog on TurboGrafx Thursdays returns for episode 6. Based on one of the best games for the system, which was also going to be on the TurboGrafx mini console, Ninja Spirit.
I love how excited you are for this thing. Like, I'm gonna pre-order it as soon as it like pops up on the Amazon list just for you. I will play it, and we're gonna have like a massive blowout episode of the TurboGrafx 16. It's gonna be the best day of your life, I'm sure.
Yeah, check out the blog, Ninja Spirit. It's a great game, and I tell you why. And Vin, how about yourself?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. I am at Hillfolk Games. I make little indie games on the side of doing a load of concept art, so you can go and check out me and some of my finger paintings and all that sort of stuff over there. But yeah, thank you very much. So from all of us here, of course, you can. You can also find the podcast on Twitter as well. We are Coffee Beer Cast. You can keep up to date with us there. We're still in the process of finding what platforms we're actually going to publish to. I'll get around to that one day. For now, we're doing it on YouTube, and I think most people are going to listen to us there. But we do want to hear your feedback about where you actually want us to actually published too, because no one's actually told us yet. So if you listen to certain places, then let us know.
Google Play Music.
Yeah, I'll do
On
that.
the list.
On the list. That's one. Give us a second one. Anyone, listeners.
It's so funny.
So we'll start uploading that. No, we'll figure it out soon. But yeah, massive thank you from all of us here, and half of the Beerumverate, I guess. Like one of them is on the beach getting chased by Yakuza at the moment. So hopefully he survives, and we can have him on another time. But from all of us here, thank you very much, and goodbye.
Bye. May all your wildest dreams come true.
Ta-ta. Everybody say goodbye.
I'm going to Disney World.